What's up everyone, it's Kadi with MoneyVest. So this is going to be your daily market update from yesterday's market close. We're going to break that down first, and then of course I'll go over some updates from today and what to look forward to the remainder of this week. Today is the last day, and of course we did have the markets somewhat volatile. Today is also the triple witching Friday. We've got a lot of index options, futures options kind of closing on the day today, so there could be a very volatile day in front of us. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, find it helpful, make sure that you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Again, links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining us, and of course getting access to all the members only private videos, including all the trade alerts and trade ideas, our Discord channels, as well as our newsletters and our moneyvest.com platform, which we are going to be launching privately for all members only. So the first month and a half is going to be for members only, and then eventually we are going to make a lot of upgrades and feature additions and then launch it for everybody else. So links going to be down below if you're interested in joining us. So starting with the Magnificent 7 and FANG stocks here. So Tesla here, of course, selling off quite aggressively, down about 4% to $162. AMD and NVDA also selling off. Semiconductor stocks seeing a bit of a pullback, and we did have a lot of money flowing back into Google. Apple pushing higher, Amazon was up, and Microsoft hitting a new all-time high and breaking out from its consolidation range, pushing up to $425. Wholesale prices came in, so PPI numbers increased by 0.6% for the month of February. So this right here was that number of retail sales, also increasing by 0.6%. X vehicles up 0.3%, and X vehicle and gas up 0.3%. So this is the PPI numbers, 0.6% month over month, sitting at 1.6% year over year. And more importantly, core inflation, which is what the Federal Reserve likes to focus on, 2% core inflation year over year. And ex-food, energy, and trade services sitting at 2.8, which again accelerated higher a little bit from the prior numbers as well. And that's exactly what the Federal Reserve do not want to see. Ed Yardeni says and predicts a 26% rally in the S&P 500 all the way through 2026. So that is a pretty bold prediction. And I think by 2026, that's a pretty average expectation here, because we've got 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years for the S&P to actually go up 26%. And that's actually not the best returns, because if you basically divide 26 divided by 2.5, we're looking at a 10.4% annually, which is again quite the average here for the S&P 500. So, but nonetheless, very strong growth expected in the S&P 500. Microsoft was up a little bit over 2.4%. We got Google up 2.5% as well. Apple up a little bit over 1%. Amazon just over 1%, as I said earlier. And Meta, NVIDIA, AMD, Tesla, all of them pulling back and selling off. So very small pockets within the market. We actually did see some liquidity flood into other sectors, other industries were definitely red. So only comm services and energy pushing higher. Everything else was red and down. In the last 1 week, of course, we got comm services and energy pushing higher. Everything else was down and red. In the last 1 month, again, most sectors were green. Almost all sectors, all 11 sectors in the S&P 500 are pushing higher. Cocoa prices, copper volatility, coffee, silver, everything pushing up. We got sugar prices, orange juice, live cattle, and feeder cattle pulling back. Bitcoin selling off once again after hitting new all-time highs at just under 68,000 now, and Ether just over 3,700 after touching almost $4,000. Now the troubled trifecta is back, unfortunately, because we did have crude oil prices breaking out to new highs here, just over $80 a barrel. That's number one. The dollar index has been on the move higher, so it's been pushing up. This week it is up a little bit over 0.5%. And more importantly, if you take a look at the 10-year treasuries, the yield this week is up a little bit over 5%. So we are seeing an increase in the troubled trifecta, as we like to call it. Three things: the 10-year treasuries, the dollar index, and the crude oil prices. They're all up, and more specifically the 10-year treasuries pushing up to almost 4.3%. Definitely is a little bit alarming for the equities market, more specifically for technology sector as well. Now, if you come over to Bitcoin and Ether here getting a little bit of a pullback from highs of $4,000, but Bitcoin seeing a bit more aggressive pullback here, down a little bit over 5% right now. 67,000 is where it's at, starting to roll over, considering how overbought and overextended Bitcoin is. It's not a surprise that it's now starting to see a little bit of that cool off period where it starts to come down. Volatility was green yesterday, up over 4.7%. Right now, pre-market, it's slightly down about 1.4. And again, we're watching these levels as high as 15 to as much as 18 to 20 levels, and a very strong area of support here inside this red rectangle between 11 and 12. The moment it gets down to that level, I think it's very important for us to remain cautious at those prices. But of course, supports at 1820, we can kind of start to feel more excited about the market, as there's going to be more potential deals, and I'll be start deploying more cash back into the market as well. So now coming over to the S&P 500. So as we know that the inflation data came in a little bit hotter than what the expectations were. We were down about 29, close to 30 basis points on the daily time frame. Again, you'll notice that we are mostly consolidating sideways. That buying momentum is starting to exhaust a little bit. We're not seeing as aggressive of that momentum to new all-time highs, but instead the S&P on the 30-minute time frame, you can see that very clearly. It's mostly consolidating sideways. So this right here has been the range of that resistance at 51.88, and we are basically trading sideways here. So support level is going to stay put at 5,045. So this right here, very, very important level to keep in mind, kind of in line with this previous support and that resistance. The moment we actually break down below this higher low and that support, even intraday, if you start to kind of break down below this level, then it's possible that the S&P 500 does see some more potential downside, and then it rotates back lower, and 4,800 is going to be that next support level to watch. So that is basically the higher high and the higher low pattern for the S&P, but more importantly, recently it's been consolidating sideways a little bit. So if it does break down below the support here at 5,000, 5,050, then there is potential for us to see lower lows, and possibly that next support is going to be at around 4,900, kind of in line with this previous support level that we have validated. Talking about the NASDAQ, same story. So we are getting a little bit of that rejection here at around 16,300. We've got some support, I would say, here in the area closer to around 15,009 to 16,000 points here, and of course, as it continues to sell off, if it does end up seeing a little bit of a breakdown below this level and that higher low, then that next support is really going to be around here, around 15,400 down to 15,100 for the NASDAQ as well. So those right there are going to be some levels to keep in mind. Apple here starting to push back higher, a little bit up over 1%. Pre-market's up another 34, 35 basis points. We've talked about this stock before, and that next resistance and target is going to be at close to $180 per share for Apple. Amazon, on the other hand, also continues to push higher, but it's coming up to that resistance here at around $178, $179. So this right here, once again, is going to be that resistance to keep in mind, with a target up to as much as 188. So 188 is going to be another resistance to watch, and support level is going to be close to 159, down to about $143 for Amazon moving forward. Tesla continues to struggle here, basically flat on the day, and it is selling off a little bit over 4%. So next support is going to be down to $153, $154. So that right there is going to be that level to keep in mind. And of course, resistance is going to stay put at 177. So that is going to be another level to keep in mind for Tesla. And beyond that, we're going to be keeping a close eye at $200, $202, $203 per share for Tesla moving forward. And like I said, support level is going to stay put at 154. 155 for the company. Talking a little bit about PayPal, and PayPal here on the day continues that outperformance. Last couple of days, it's actually outperformed compared to the S&P 500, still within the context of this downtrend and lower highs and lower lows. And resistance is going to stay put at $65, $66. So this right here is going to be that level to keep in mind. Support level down as much as $57 per share. We've just been seeing a lot of consolidation for PayPal. So in that range, it's really just been consolidating sideways over here for PayPal. And again, beyond that, we're going to be watching that resistance all the way up to $76, $77 per share. The moment it breaks out above this level, there's going to be more potential upside for PayPal. Talking about Visa, and Visa here also seeing a little bit of a pullback after, of course, hitting new all-time highs after the earnings that came out. We did see a very nice solid recovery back up. Support level is going to stay put at $250 per share for Visa, all the way down to $234 for Visa moving forward. So that right there is the entire uptrend. Higher highs and higher lows consistently moving up. And I'm going to be doing a more dedicated, more in-depth analysis on Visa moving forward as well. Talking a little bit about NVDA now. So NVDA on the day consolidating sideways, down about 3%. Pre-market's basically flat. But really, if you come over to the 30-minute time frame, you'll notice that it's mostly been consolidating a little bit, although making new lower highs. So this right here can be considered as a bit of a lower high. But at the same time, you can argue that there is some potential for a triangle, once again, a little bit of a descending triangle on the 30-minute time frame. So very strong support at $842 for NVIDIA. It's kind of validated that level here, a little bit of validation over here before rallying over 20-30% over here, actually 13 to 14%, and then selling right back down, pushing higher, selling right back down. So 842 is going to be that support level to watch for NVIDIA. Advanced Micro Devices, in my opinion, has already turned. I think it's broken down below those moving averages. I think there is more potential for downside here for AMD. Next support level is going to stay put down to 164, down to $151 per share for Advanced Micro Devices. So those right there are going to be a few levels to watch for Advanced Micro Devices, all the way down to 132 as well as $118 per share for AMD. Talking a little bit about Meta now. So Meta pushing sideways down about 75 basis points right at that 21 EMA. If you do see a breakdown below this, $386 is going to be the next level to keep in mind for Meta platforms, and there's a huge gap to potentially fill for Meta as well. Talking about Netflix, and Netflix here really consolidating sideways. Resistance is going to stay put all the way up to as much as this level at $624, $625. With that 21 EMA is going to stay put at $594, close to $600, all the way down to $473 for Netflix moving forward as well. So those right there are going to be some levels to keep in mind. Very nice consistent uptrend at the moment. Talking about Google here, and Google also pushing higher. Very nice recovery. This was part of our trade idea that we talked about in our previous video. Next resistance and target is going to be close to $151 per share. Of course, all the way up to $153. That's pretty much the target, the profit potential for Google. Very nice recovery on the RSI, and the MACD pushing back up. Support level is going to stay put down to 131 for Google here. Microsoft pushing up to new all-time highs. Huge breakout, 427 pre-market, up another 0.5%. Market cap now sitting well over $3.2 trillion. Huge breakout from this consolidation area. So support level is going to stay put at 418 down to 420, as much as $400 for Microsoft. And finally, we got Enphase. Enphase actually getting destroyed left and right, down about 6.5%, low 110s, and support level is going to stay put at 108, down to as low as $92, $93 per share for Enphase. Really, really huge resistance and area of supply in the 130s and 140s for Enphase at those prices. And my calls could not have been in the money at a better time, because my calls expired last Friday at $130 and some cents. So if you come over to Friday, they actually expired. The closing price on last Friday was $130.28. And since then, of course, Enphase has dropped 18%. I cannot tell you how well this worked out, and it's absolutely crazy, because my 130 calls were in the money. My shares got called away at 130, and I received the full premium of $3. So my actual exit price was 133 plus. And the seller, since I was a seller, I got my shares called away, and the buyer of that call got delivered on those shares at close to 130 cost basis, and now he is underwater at around 18% instead of me. So that was kind of a crazy trade. I mean, not every day you see a call expiring in the money by 20 cents, and then following 5 days, the stock price dropping 18-20%. So that was absolutely quite crazy trade. And again, link's going to be down below if you're interested in joining us. And Costco here, just consolidating sideways a little bit, and just up to $735. Support level is going to stay put at $678 per share. So hope you all enjoyed this video and a complete breakdown and an update on the markets here. We're going to take a look at some of the individual stocks in more detailed analysis that I'll be posting today. And make sure that you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining us. A few more spots left for the month of March with that 16% annual discount. As always, happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.